Alrighty, lumberjacks, welcome back to another episode of FDR Logging. Last time we were playing, we did some stuff. What did we do? Oh, we were loading. That's what we did. We're gonna give loading a break again because I don't want to get caught up. I'll have like half the map down and be like, okay guys, I don't want to get too caught up, and there'll be like 6,000 piles per 8 miles. I think I'm gonna do a little bit of bunching. Maybe we'll bunch out this little corridor here. I'm just going to kind of get the pile away from these piles so that we're a little further out. So I might start stacking kind of down yonder. We might be doing a little bit of trekking back and forth here, which may not be super realistic because you probably don't want to be traveling this far back and forth. But you know what? We're going to make it work here. Sorry, I just got my joystick is being a bit of a weirdo here. Oh, there we go. That's working. Okay. There we go. So today's subject, we're going to have some fun. Today we're going to take a shot at social media. You know me and my social media, love to take shots at that because that's just basically how she go. Social media, I've had this question before, people, and it's in live chats and whatever, like everybody's asking me, it's just like, oh, what do what? Talking about platforms and all these different things, and why aren't you on this platform, and why aren't you using this platform, and how come you don't have this account and that account, and blah, 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 blah. And there's just all this different stuff, right? So FDR Logging, as a business, as me, I have social media accounts. It's not like I'm anti-social media entirely, although I sometimes think it's a little overdone. I use it as a tool to promote FDR Logging. I use it as a tool to help promote the brands that sponsor me. There's lots of different ways to use social media in ways that help you discover cool things. There's also lots of things in social media that are completely redundant, and I guess some people would call them entertainment, but perhaps maybe not so much. So let's go date my old self really bad here. So when I was in high school, which was, oh god, when was that? 2008. I'm an old man. 2008 when I was in high school. So when I was in high school, cell phones were barely even a thing. They weren't even a thing at the time. They were just kind of starting when I was in high school to even show up in the schools. Like, it was just like people were using T9, which, if you don't know what that is, well, then you are way too young to know what I'm even talking about, so I'm not going to worry about it. But people were T9ing. I didn't even own a cell phone until I was like, I don't know, probably 21, which was like slightly towards I guess it was like a couple years after high school, or I can't remember the dates of when that was. But in high school, like, we just kind of started seeing like the people that had money bringing them in. They're like, oh, the rich kids, they have cell phones. Like, oh, what are they doing? Oh, the teachers are like, kind of like, oh, that's super crazy. Get that out of here. And like, the thought of like social media wasn't really a thing. Like, Facebook was actually first a thing then. Like, Facebook was like just kind of kicking off. People were like, had their little profiles and a couple friends and did their things, but it wasn't like insanely, I wouldn't say it wasn't not popular, but it wasn't insanely popular in terms of like using it for actual social stuff. At least not in my school, in our small town of Nowhereville. But looking back at that and comparing it to what's going on now, I just like, it's such a behemoth of reality. Like, social media in general has become such a giant thing that like people can't even live without it. Like, it's just like when they did the TikTok ban, right? People had like, there was like patients going through like withdrawals and like just crazy stuff like that. Like, that's insane. It's like people are so addicted to it, and I will not pretend like I'm some martyr. Like, I have looked at Facebook Shorts or Facebook Reels, YouTube Shorts, TikTok. When I had some very boring jobs where I was basically sitting around waiting, I used to just get abysmally lost in those platforms. And it is so easy to become addictive. Like, I got hooked on cooking videos, like learning how to cook these. I mean, I still think it was beneficial because I can still cook some pretty cool stuff because of those videos. But I'd watch these videos of people making sushi or cutting things and doing like different types of pork roasts, and just like, I'm like, oh man, that looks so good. Oh my God, that looks amazing. Oh, that's so good. And I would like take notes of them, and I'd go home and try it. And I was like, oh man, now I can cook this thing because I learned it on the thing. And I was like, this is so cool. It was just so like I understand the sentiment of like wanting to pursue the coolness of novel content on there. Like you get lost in the vibe, you're really bored, and you're just like brain rotting, as they call it. Brain rotting, watching the same material over and over and just not really achieving anything out of it. So nowadays, when I look at social media in general, I see it as a pro for certain businesses. Like I said, I can advertise FDR Logging to get more people into logging and more people in the community and more people interested, which is great. I love that. The side of it that scares me, and I won't say scares because I don't honestly care anymore, but it concerns me for the future of the humanity as a whole, is just like the dumb, rotten core side, which is just like reaction videos. That's a great example. Let me tell you the one thing Jordan despises the most. I will literally downvote or like put a dislike video on any person or any entity that does a video where all their content is the original content of their video. All it is taking someone else's video, their content that they made, sticking their ugly ass face down in the corner and pointing up with some kind of shit ass expression. That drives me up the frickin' wall. Like, how did this become a thing? I think it started back in the YouTubers like PewDiePie and Markiplier and those, where they started doing like, watch me laugh at the top funniest videos on earth, and he watches the videos and sits there and just, or try to make me laughs, or whatever the hell they were called, right? I think that's where it started. I really do. Like, looking back through my memory of content history, I would say that's probably where it started, was there. But I look at videos nowadays, and like literally I've scrolled on like YouTube Shorts a couple times, and I've hit the same video like 7, maybe 8 times, and all it is the same video, but with a different jackass's face on the bottom that's like, you're gonna love this, or I can't believe this, or this is crazy. And it's just the same video, but this guy's pointing up, and you know what? He's getting the engagement, the likes, the content for someone else's friggin' content. And I think that is just the worst. I don't know why. That is just the worst. And of course, giants like YouTube or Google or Facebook or TikTok or any of these aren't going to lash down on something like that. Why? Because it's driving up engagement. People are seeing the video. They don't really care who it belongs to. I mean, YouTube's a little bit better with their content protection, because if they see your content being used, they ask you about it and stuff. But like copyright stuff, man, with reaction videos, that's not a thing. Now, there are certain types of reaction videos, and I'm not going to call them reaction videos. It's more like interpretive videos that I support, which is like, okay, so a popular musician sees another guy playing guitar. So he'll play that guy's guitar, and he'll critique, and he'll make comments about the coolness or the technique or whatever. That's cool. Like, you know, like you pretend you have like a Steve Vai or a Jimi Hendrix, or, you know, something like a really famous guitarist, and he'll be like, oh, a fan video, that became viral. I'm just going to review this. One, the fan's really excited because he has one of his favorite guitarists of all time or something, looking at his content, and the guitarist is recognizing like, hey, this guy did a really good job. Look, he's playing this thing that I wrote, or whatever. That kind of reaction video from famous people is great. I think that's really positive. So if you want to call those reaction videos, then absolutely, I think those are really good, because they're actually like providing some kind of like a positive, I don't know, like a positive reaction. That's actually, it's not even a reaction. I hate using the term reaction. A positive criticism or feedback about the video that is representative of the video's content. That would be the professional terminology that I would use for that. But if I just go and take some guy's video, like, oh, there was a crazy fight that this guy filmed and he uploaded it all over YouTube. Okay, well, now I go take the fight, it's different if, okay, I was a judo master or karate master or professional UFC fighter, and I have my stupid ugly head in the corner, and I'm like, okay, so in this part of the video, this guy is filming this fight on the subway. You see how the attacker does this? Well, this is known as, you know, if I was doing something like that, I wouldn't watch that because I think it's kind of boring. But at least then there's some kind of something, some kind of knowledge, some kind of positive gain that you're adding to that content to make it more relevant to more people, right? That makes sense. But if you're one of those jackasses, and yes, you guys are jackasses, you're the worst people on earth. I hate you. I just absolutely despise the people that make those videos. If you're just a guy with your ugly face in the bottom of the corner, and you're like, whoa, check this out. You're not going to believe this. You got your two fingers and you're pointing up in the air and you're like, look at this video that's right above my head. You should be banned from all content uploading for everything forever if you even make one of those videos. You're just lower than low to me. I hate that so much. So if you're one of those people that watches and you see that, stop doing it. It's stupid. And you're an idiot and you're a thief. That's all you are. You're not a content creator. You're a content stealer. That's what you are. Content stealer. Got it? So give up your baloney and get off the market. Anyway, that's my old man rant about stupid content creation. I hate that so much. Anyway, social media. Let's go back to that because I really diverted off on that topic. But that's good because that was actually another topic I always like to get my 2 cents in about that because I hate reaction videos. I think it's the stupidest thing. But social media. So I was talking about how in high school we never knew what was going on in the world outside of like the news and maybe like the odd thing on the internet, but we didn't really get a lot of it. Once social media got turned into like the fast, I mean, there's always like Reddit and stuff like that existed. But once social media got turned into the fast pace world of shorts, like TikTok was the big catalyst of the shorts community that created, and then Facebook Reels, and then they all started doing it. Every platform wanted it. So like, whatever TikTok's doing is working. We got to get that. Let's get it. And it's funny because I had this conversation with a guy not even the other day, it was yesterday. It's so funny that this came up. I think this is kind of what drove me to have this conversation today. But I had this conversation with a guy at work where we talked about, man, like, what is with people these days, right? I said, am I just getting old and I'm just less tolerant of people being stupid? Because it seems there's just a lot of really stupid people out there, right? Really stupid. And I said, what the? And he said, what is causing that? Like, it feels like an epidemic of just stupid people. And I totally feel strongly that social media is to blame. And I mean, I'm sure there's some kind of, we're gonna catch that tree. We got it. I feel like there's probably studies out there talking about it that have already discovered this, but like, attention spans are down, obviously, because of things like YouTube Shorts or TikTok or whatever, right? So people are like, they want content faster and more novel content faster, right? I mean, you can relate that to like all kinds of dopamine inducing activities, from sex to drugs to rock and roll to whatever you want, right? People are always chasing that next big high of dopamine. And dopamine, obviously, is what the shorts and what the TikToks and all those will create in people's brains with novel content. You're not necessarily learning anything new, but you're getting that content regardless. So, again, having this conversation with the guy, I said, you know, I really do think social media is hugely to blame for people just being stupid or being dumber. People, and they get on these specific platforms where they regurgitate the same information over and over and over and over and over and over and over, and remix it and redo it and reinsert it and whatever. And people are not learning anything from this content, and it's not, they think it's new and novel, but it really isn't. They're really getting fed a lot of the same baloney that they were getting fed before, right? They just think it's new because it's been changed. So that drives people to get locked into these cycles of watching these short videos, these YouTube shorts and whatever, all these short videos, to the point where they don't even do anything with their lives. They just sit there and watch, and they watch, and they watch, and they're addicted to watching, and they won't go out and do anything. Like, I've had friends that have fully admitted to me, I normally on a Saturday will get up and go do task A, B, C, D, and do this, and then some days they just would sit in their bed for like 4 hours watching TikTok videos, right? And I'm like, what do you get out of that? And they're like, oh, I don't know, it's kind of like an escape, right? And I get that it's good to have escape. I mean, it's probably better than like going and doing drugs or something, I think. But at the same time, it's like you get locked into this cycle, and now you're not moving forward in your own life. There's no growth, there's no achievement, there's no nothing to that. And then that's when people start to get all cray. Oh, we're cutting longs. I don't really want to cut longs. I want to cut shorts, actually. I just said it too. I wasn't even paying attention. Let's change that to 6s. I want to go back to shorts. But yeah, it's just crazy to see that people allow themselves to kind of get to that point where they're like almost detoured by the stuff that they're watching. It's just, I don't know, it seems nuts to me. Just freaking crazy. So yeah, social media, great for some things, ruining it for a lot of other things, I think. And I think the world is getting dumber because of it. And people are just not progressing in their lives, right? They're at a standstill because they get locked. And I mean, like, I feel it's not for everybody. Like, I don't want to say this is everybody that's having this happen to them, but I do feel there is a strong amount of people that are in that club. And from what I hear from friends who are teachers in schools, apparently it's really bad too, because kids are now locked into this stuff where they would rather be obviously on their phones doing that type of stuff than they would be, listening to the teacher doing stuff in the classroom. And I mean, that's not exactly a novel thing either. I don't want to pretend like that's some new epidemic. I mean, when I was in school, all I was thinking about was getting home playing video games. I wasn't listening to the teacher half the time either. I just feel the content wasn't delivered quite the same. So getting back to what we were discussing with the whole, like, basically content on demand, and how when I was younger, to get the news, you'd have to actually watch the news. Well, it comes down also to, like, human psychology, right? Like, I can't remember where the heck I read that. I probably caught it on a YouTube short, actually, from back in the day. But I can't remember if it was like, maybe it was Joe Rogan or Jordan Peterson or somebody like that. But they were talking about anxiety, right? How people everywhere have such bad anxiety now compared to back in the day. People didn't have as much anxiety as there was. And I mean, there's studies that'll argue that because, I mean, obviously they didn't understand things as much back in the day as they do now. So maybe it's being reported more. But I tend to agree with, if your world in your life consists of such a small area that you're worried about, your worries are going to be less than if you're exposed to the entire world's problems. So can you guys not agree with me on that? So I'll say it again. If you are living in a smaller area of information, your worries are going to be much less than if you're exposed to all the world's information. Right? That sounds legit. So if I'm living in a very small town, which I do, and all I know is the small town gossip, and all I know is what's going on in my family or my relationship or my farm or my whatever, my house, that's my world, and those are my worries, right? That's the stuff I should be anxious about or concerned about or fearful of or concerned about all the time, because that's my world and that's what's really going on that affects me directly, right? Now, let's fast forward to the big world. Suddenly now, I have total exposure to everything in the world. My information link is now not just my small community. It is every community on Earth. It is every problem everywhere on Earth all the time being fed to me 24/7 so that I know it. As opposed to a small community, maybe I hear some gossip from someone, or I pick up the local paper and I read some stuff about whatever. And you run out of problems really fast. As somebody who reads a small town paper occasionally, it's very small and there's not a lot of stuff going on in our little world because it's a very small town. And our problems are very small. In fact, the newspaper actually has to stretch their articles to reach out about things happening in areas further around us because there's just that much less going on in our area. All this to being said, obviously, stuff isn't happening all the time everywhere in our communities. So we get bored because we want more exposure to more drama, more entertainment. Now, with social media, we have access to everything on Earth. I can know what's going on in Africa. I can know what's going on in Cambodia, the Middle East, USA, China, Canada. I have an ear on the internet to whatever I want to know about at any time, anywhere, any place. Because all I have to do is search it, or Google it, or watch videos, or the videos will come to me. I don't even have to find them. And what does that do is it triggers the different types of emotions in you as you watch the content or you consume the content. You know, you might see something you really like and you're happy, and then you might see something you really don't like, and then you're sad, and then you're upset, and then you're anxious. Oh my God, I'm really scared now because I read this thing that says everything is bad. Okay, then I read this other thing that says everything is good, so now it's all good. So you end up living in this cycle of just non-stop bullshittery being shoved in your face, whether you like it or not. And that right there is where the anxiety of the world comes from. Being worried about stuff that's so far outside of their ability to control it that it puts them into this anxious state of mind where they can't be happy, they can't get out of bed, they can't do anything because they're just comatose. And some teachers that I've spoken to are talking about how students are concerned about stuff that's so far removed from them and outside of their ability that they can't sleep at night. They have to get put on sleeping pills or antidepressants at super young ages, simply because they just can't handle what's going on. Now, the thing that I heard, whether it was Joe Rogan or Jordan Peterson or whatever the heck it was that I heard it on, it might have even been a short somewhere, but it was talking about farmers and how these farmers, I don't know if it was his uncle or his grandpa, he said he didn't have to worry about things like anxiety, or at least not to that extent, because he worked so damn hard during the day. His only concern was, getting the field plowed. That was his biggest concern. Problems of the reality of the day, right? Are the chickens fed? Are the cows fed? Do I have something for dinner? It sounds incredibly boring to us right now because we're so overstimulated by content that to think a life where your only concern is, oh man, I gotta go out and put chicken food in the chicken feeder or throw chicken feed in the chicken pen. That's my big concern of the day. That sounds extremely boring to anybody from our modern age because we're like, oh, Donald Trump did this, or Elon Musk did this, or Trudeau did this, or whatever. Or in Europe, there's a riot, or the food stocks and the grocers and constant, non-stop feed being stuffed in your face. And some of it may not even some of it, I would say a really large portion of it isn't even relevant to you at all. If there is a riot in Africa right now, what are you going to do about that? If it's your job to go stop riots in Africa, absolutely, that news is pertinent to you and you need to get your shit together and go over there and solve that problem. But if you are a 15-year-old kid in high school and you hear about riots in Africa and that's bringing you anxiety and problems, why do you even, first of all, need to know this information? How is it pertinent to anything that you're going to be doing in your day or your life? Unless you are training to become a riot protection person in Africa, why is that causing you such dilemmas? Why is that causing you such grief? Why is that a problem for you? It should not be a problem for you, right? So these are crude examples, but all to be said, the content that we're being fed now through social media is so beyond what we are supposed to have as humans and what we're supposed to be worrying about as humans that I think it's kind of breaking us a little bit. We're starting to fall apart. We're overstimulating our brains with content so graphically that it's shutting us down. Our brains are breaking. We're becoming dumber. We're anxious. We don't sleep. Our cognitive abilities are falling through the roof. And that's not like a fear factor thing. It's just something that is clearly becoming noticeable. And I think it's insane. I think it's crazy. The human brain, I don't think, was meant to worry or withhold or withstand the amount of crap that we are shoving in it. I don't think it was meant for this. And I think we're kind of going, I call it downward evolution, where we're kind of like going backwards. We progressed to where we are as a society, and now I feel like we're really going backwards. And I know that sounds kind of like some like crazy anarchy speak, but it's wild. I really do hope one day, just for like a reset button on technology, like where they just EMP the earth, wipe out the internet for a while, and people just kind of like get their friggin' brains back like to normal. But maybe, I guess this is normal. Maybe this is it. See, the way I look at it, everyone's like, oh, this is the normal. You're just thinking old school, old thought, old people thinking, right? I'm not really that. I'm not crazy old. I'm like, what, 35? Like, come on now. I guess that's pretty old for this day and age, but I don't feel like I'm that crazy old. But they always say like, oh, this is the new, this is normal. You're just thinking old school. But I'm like, if you think about ourselves in an organism way, like we are a creature. We eat food, we make love, we sleep, we wake up, we hunt, we collect, we gather, we whatever, right? We're an organism that has a certain amount of features built into us. And I think if we overload those features, that's why we're starting to see problems with anxieties and mental illnesses that we never really saw before, right? People being scared out of their minds or concerned out of their minds about things that they have zero control over or zero effect on their actual lives directly shouldn't be something that we are fighting with or even being concerned with, but yet it's here. I don't know. I think it's absolutely crazy. But you know what? I love to hear your guys' opinions. What do you think? Post it in the comments. Right? Talk about it. It's probably good to talk about it. Not like I'm really going to change anything until something really drastic happens. I don't think anything will really change, but yeah, it's wild. It's just, it's interesting for me because I feel like we, I don't know what the hell we are. I don't think, were we millennials or something? I think we're millennials. I can't remember. If I'm 35 at the time of this video, when you're watching this, what am I? I think I'm a millennial. Maybe not. I know I'm not. I don't think I'm a Gen X. I think that's the next one below us. Also, where the hell did that all come from? We didn't have generations of stuff. Boomers. Well, I guess the boomer thing was kind of more realistic, but it's creating all these weird groupings of people for whatever reason to serve whatever purpose. Kind of an ugly processor pile on this one side. Well, you see my logs on that one in the middle? They kind of like started crawling out there. I hate that about the physics. These ones right at the tip of my claw here, they kind of slid out of that pile, which is I'm really not happy about, but that's okay. Once loader time gets here, we're not going to worry about it. Oops. Actually, you know, we should drive this up to the next pile because that's what the nice person would do. So that's ready to go. We don't have to walk it. But yeah, anyway, that was kind of a long rant about social media, but I want to know, I want to see how you guys feel, you know? Are you addicted to YouTube Shorts or TikTok or Facebook? Because Lord knows if I get into it, I get pretty hooked on it. Watching novel cooking videos or logging videos. Oh, man. I feel if you're watching content that you can actually learn something, it's probably good for you. But overexposing yourself to stupid stuff is going to make you stupid. You are what you eat, as they say, right? You are what you eat. All right, guys, well, we're going to leave it at that with our controversial episode talking about social media. Even though we're on social media, promoting social media, using social media, here's me downplaying social media. It's very hypocritical, isn't it? Quite. But you know what? I guess we are where we are. live with the times. All right, guys, we're going to leave it at that, and we'll catch you in the next one. See ya.